Let's talk a little bit about UFC 234. It was just this Saturday, and I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell. We'll talk about three biggest takeaways, right?
Hmm.
So my biggest takeaway was that overall, the event itself was disappointing. Um, it started with Robert Whitaker having to pull out. He had a very serious abdominal injury. They said basically, had he gotten hit in the midsection, he could have died in the octagon because
Hmm.
that's how, you know,
Yep.
this was a bowel issue. And, so clearly the right decision was made for him not to compete. But that was a huge blow to the card because the card was not super strong on paper to begin with, so it lost the most of or a lot of the name recognition that it had anyway. So that was one thing. Secondly, I thought that well, I guess in support of this first thing, I just didn't. Well, I guess it's my second thing. I just wasn't impressed with the Adesanya Anderson Silva fight. They fought like two people that really, really like each other, and well, especially Adesanya. I think Silva was probably doing his best, but Adesanya, you know how it used to be, how people would get really like disenchanted or put off when Venus and Serena would play each other. They would imply that they weren't really going out playing as hard as they do when they play other people. That's what it felt like to me. It felt.
I didn't feel that way. I felt like the only aspect of that I felt was if you were coaching Anderson Silva, you would expect that if given the opportunity, he would really want to test Adesanya on the ground because Anderson Silva is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and Adesanya hasn't proven that he can handle that at the highest level yet. And you would want to see Anderson test that. And he had some opportunities where he could have pushed it, and he clearly was 100% dedicated to standing up the entire fight and having a kickboxing match.
Well, see, to me, here's the thing. Like, all black belts are not created equal, and all Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts are not created equal. A lot of times people just throw that out there and they say that, and they automatically say, "Oh, well, he's great there." But it's not about that. It's about the comfort level in an actual fight, because a lot of times they acquire these black belts and these honors in different types of situations. No gi and gi Brazilian jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu training or our competitions is different than MMA grappling and MMA jiu-jitsu. Applying it in the situations where you apply it is different. Now he may still get his black belt, but is it applicable the same way? And does his body frame work for it? Anderson, if he Anderson, first of all, doesn't want to do that. He wants to strike, right? So, and every time you've ever seen him implement his Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it's always been in a situation where he is reacting and trying to survive from having been taken down or having gone to the ground for whatever reason. But his whole game has always been set up on keeping the fight standing. The other problem that I have with Anderson, especially later in his career, I don't think Anderson fights to win as much as he fights to entertain.
Oh, for sure. I think that's his MO right now. His
Yeah.
MMO
And I
his MO is he's fighting because he loves the game, and if he can win while entertaining and being who he wants to be, then yeah, he's in Iverson mode where he want to win his way. And if he can't, he's cool with that because he has nothing left to prove. And I totally understand that, which is why I said, I don't I want to see him in show matches. I don't really want to see him contending because I don't feel like he's in a win at all cost kind of mode, which is my point. I think he's had enough submissions in his career and is a good enough BJJ guy. And again, with an unproven guy like Adesanya, you would at least test it. You would at least test, but and my thing is not that he didn't try to take him down or whatever, but the fact that he was clearly against it. It was clearly let's stand toe to toe and throw punches and kicks at each other. That's what was happening. They were in a
yeah,
kickboxing match. That's my point. And but to that point, I don't think Israel held back. I think Israel was telling the truth about what he said, which was basically I would have loved to gone in there and finished him, but he was faster than I expected. He was hitting harder than I expected, and he was trying to bait me. and I'm not gonna get baited. If we and I know I'm winning, so I'm gonna have to take the win that way. I think that's what looked like what happened during the fight. That's what was called during the fight, and that's what a lot of experts are saying. So I think most of the evidence points towards that. I don't think it was a situation where Adesanya could have just knocked Anderson out if he'd have done this without exposing himself in a way that also put him at risk to getting caught with something. I think he pulled a Tyron Woodley, where he was just like, could I theoretically do more to knock this guy out? Theoretically, would that increase my chances of winning the match? No, because I'm 100% winning the match on points. Like I can guarantee victory by doing what I'm doing. And I think the overwhelming thing with this fight was this was a 5-round fight and it was only a 3-round fight. You know,
Mhm.
these guys both had the kind of skills, the kind of stamina, the kind of chess match. There was a lot of things going on where you see the guys figuring each other out, feinting. That wasn't off for show. Like they were really figuring out spacing and stuff like that. And when they were doing that, Silva surprised Izzy a couple of times, and that's why he was just like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna just take this victory on the points and go home. So I wasn't disappointed from that as far as that goes. But there was other fights on the card. I mean, one of the big takeaways for me was we talked last time about early stoppages. I felt that it was an early stoppage in the shoot fight.
Yeah, the Jimmy Crute Sam Alvey
Crude,
fight.
crude.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an early stop. It was a terrible stoppage. In fact, literally what I said in the last show about Dillashaw, what I say that the classic intelligent defense is once you get that arm up around the ear, the ref is supposed to take that as the stop sign. Don't you call this fight unless you see the guy go limp. He got the arm up, gave the thumbs up, and the referee still stopped the fight. Terrible stoppage. And the other, you got anything to say about that?
I don't think it was a terrible stoppage. I think it was maybe a half a second or so, a little too early, maybe. But for me, I here's my thing. Do I have any doubt at all that the guy is finished? That's usually what I ask myself, right? Um, Alvey was cooked. Um, he was really hurt by, well, first of all, Jimmy Crute really should only blame himself if anything negative had happened for him in that fight,
Because he
because
walked away.
he walked away because he wanted the showtime. He wanted to see, he's
Yeah,
Australian.
yeah,
And he used this term, right? He said, I wanted the walk off.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he
Well,
wanted to
that
knock him out,
term
turn
came,
around.
that term came from Mark Hunt, who
Hmm.
is a legendary Australian mixed martial artist, former kickboxer, UFC legend, if you want to call somebody with a 500 record that, below 500 at this point. But he is the guy who kind of revolutionized the walk off KO. That's when they started using the term, because one punch knockout from Mark Hunt, he turns his back, he literally walks off. And they said Mark Hunt with the walk off. So it felt to me like Jimmy Crute wanted to emulate that to a degree.
Hmm.
And you don't stop until the ref stops you. So he created that situation, because he stayed on Alvey at that point, when Alvey was truly on Dream Street, there would have been no dispute, because he could have pounded him out right there. But he didn't. He came back. I felt that, here's the thing: people say giving the thumbs up. A lot of times fighters do things instinctually, but they're not there.
I
Mentally,
don't
they're
think
not
that
there.
was the case here though, because
I,
he first
the,
covered up, and
he did,
then after covering
but
up,
when you
he
when
put the
you
thumb. And he talked about early stoppages from this ref, and
yeah.
so he had the wherewithal. I think he was specifically speaking to that ref, like, "Hey, don't do me like that. I got my arm up. Let me, I'm fine. Let me just bear with this." And unlike Dillashaw, as soon as he knew that it was called, he popped
Yes,
up and was
yes.
fully lucid. He
So
never
that
had that glaze. I look,
no, he
Dillashaw
was
went down
no,
like
he was a
4
little
times.
glazed. He was a little
No,
glazed,
he
but
was
I
he
do
was
agree he did
rattled.
pop up.
Dillashaw looked like he literally left the earth for a minute.
No, I agree. This was worse than Dillashaw for sure. I agree with that. But the referee has to also react to posture, right? And if you are down and not really defending yourself,
But
especially
he
if I just
was.
got through, he cover up, shelling up is a if
No,
you're
he
he,
did intelligent defense, man. He
he put his
covered up
hand,
the
but
punch
that's still
side,
the same thing.
gave
If
the
you're
thumbs up, and the
that
ref shut him down. He didn't give him a second.
I do, like I said, I think it was a little too quick, but a little quick, I should say. But when you're down on all fours and you do this, or you do this and do that, if you do that, what I'm saying is, had he stayed in that position for maybe 2 more seconds, that
Yeah,
is
I mean, you
still
gotta move.
that is
And
still
here's the thing,
cause.
though. But what you're saying is, if the referee did his job and you know, Crute just kept pounding him, then it would have been the right call.
Right. I said
I
maybe
agree
maybe a
if it was
little
different.
quick.
But hold on, the referee's job though is when you do that and you say I'm intelligently defending, the referee's supposed to warn you and say you have to prove that to me or I'm gonna call this fight. Defend, show me something, keep it moving, or I'm gonna call it. That's the ref's job. When you put your arm up and give the thumbs up and say, "Give me a second, I'm fine." This is MMA, man. You ain't, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I mean, I,
Dillashaw got hit in the face like 9 times in a row. This guy had his arm up, and the last 3 punches hit him in the shoulder. Like I'm not
if
saying he
I'm
wouldn't fight, but I'm saying that he had every 100% right. I don't think there's any dispute. Bad stoppage, 100%. I don't think there's anything.
I don't think it was a horrible stoppage. I don't have a problem with someone saying, "Oh, that was a little bit too quick," or "That was a little quick." But I don't think it was cause for an outrage type of a stoppage. I don't. I don't. I mean, maybe I say that because I don't think Alvey had much of a chance to win that fight at that point, and I am
And but my thing isn't whether he would have won the fight, but in MMA, you're supposed to, because of the nature of the game, and obviously you know this. When people get rattled, sometimes that's the thing that happens before the other guy puts himself in a bad position,
that's
right?
true. That's true.
And the referee didn't give him that opportunity. He had a history with this referee, and he did everything that he could in that moment to prevent that
See,
from
I
happening.
guess
And
my
that's my
thing is,
problem.
well, here's my thing, and here's what where I find a flaw with what Alvey said. Alvey said, um, he stops my fights too quickly. I told him, let me go out on my shield. Let me give me an opportunity to this, that, and the third. Here's the thing. Mark Goddard can't have special rules for Sam Alvey.
But I don't. I
He
think
can't
Albie was just
allow Sam
asking
Al
for
he can't
MMA
allow Sam
rules.
Alvey to tell him how to ref him. And that's the thing. Mark Goddard has to ref him the way he refs every other fighter. And if that's when now if we're saying that, if Sam Alvey is saying that, okay, just in general, these stoppages are too early, then that's one thing. But if he's trying to tell him, hey, when I'm fighting, you don't stop my fight here. You can't do that because the ref has to protect you from yourself as well as protect you from the opponent who might have you hurt.
In
So while
theory, yeah, but
I do agree,
according to the way MMA fights are called, that was an early stoppage. Like,
I can see somebody can say it was a little early, but I don't, like I said, I don't think it was a gross outrage. Like, of course, Alvy's mad because Alvy's a competitor, and Alvy is
well,
a
I think
tough
he's
guy.
mad because he got hit in the arm 4 times and then the fight ended.
I think he was popped. I think he was
Oh, I'm
popped.
not saying the debate is not whether or not he would have won the fight. Eh,
I
the-
no, I think he was hurt enough to have stopped that fight. I just think that the
I
reason
don't think
why it
so.
was a
Not because
little bit quick, I think it was a little quick because um he was allowed to get up because, and that was Crute's fault. That was Crute's fault. Be, but and then the follow up afterwards, there weren't enough punches landed afterwards to make it definitive. But I think that he originally was hurt bad enough to stop the fight. He was, I mean, that right hand that landed,
no,
he was
he
done.
got rocked. It's not an issue if he got rocked. People get rocked in MMA all the time, and then they win that fight, right? So, it's not an issue of whether he got rocked. It's the issue of whether he got rocked, recovered, and started intelligently defending. He did that, and as soon as the fight ended, that dude looked like he was lucid enough to do his taxes. He was complaining in perfect English How could you do this to me? Blah 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 blah. Like he looked like a guy who was recovered, whereas like Dillashaw looked like a guy who got beat down. You
I
know what I'm
mean,
saying?
yeah,
Like
he was
Dillashaw,
definitely
you
in
was
better.
killed.
He
Like
was definitely better than Dillashaw was.
yeah.
Definitely.
So and the thing is, because and here's the thing, Dillashaw, and this is where I think there's a line. It's not. I don't think there's a lot of ambiguity here. If a guy's getting hit in the face repeatedly, then it's like on the referee to protect him. If a guy's getting hit in the arm, there's no emergency happening right now. And he was literally being punched in the shoulder. The other thing from that, now we ain't never gonna agree on this one. Y'all can look at the tape, see where we land on the at me, bro. Right wrong scale on this. That's why we do this show. Devontae Smith and Ricky Simone both looked fantastic.
They did. They both looked great.
And watching those two guys fight saved the card for me a little bit. Like not in terms of this was a pay-per-view, but in terms of did I enjoy my night of watching MMA? Yeah, I enjoyed it because I enjoyed watching those guys fight, and I enjoyed watching Izzy fight his hero. That was, something moving about that because you
Yeah,
just couldn't
I
expect.
enjoyed that part. I think that's what I wrote in my recap is the thing that I appreciated most about the fight
Where'd
was
you write that recap, Brian?
I wrote it up on Forbes.
Oh, you write for Forbes?
I do. I
Yeah,
do.
people should check that out. They can see how wrong you
Perhaps
are
I
on
should say
Forbes, what you get away with.
that more, but I tend not to say that as much anymore. But yeah, I
He
mean,
write the facts on Forbes. He come here with the nonsense.
no, I make sure I share the nonsense equally. But I mean, that was one of the things that I wrote. I said, I appreciated the mutual respect. You could see that was there, and there was some value in that. I just didn't love the fight. I thought Adesanya was in a no-win situation, to be honest.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Yeah, if you knocked him out, you knocked out a 43-year-old. If you lose, or if you
how
don't
could
look
you?
great,
You
and I think
overrated.
that's exactly what happened. And I think he really realized that mid-fight. But yeah, I agree. Ricky Simone and Devontae Smith were great. Ricky Simone did a great job against a Brazilian jiu-jitsu beast, and he dictated the fight. He was like, "No, this fight's gonna happen the way I want it to happen."
Yeah,
And
he was sharp.
He was sharp. He was
I
really
love
good.
seeing a sharp fighter like that.
Definitely.